Have you ever stopped to think that almost everything you were taught about countries may be incomplete, or even wrong? The truth is that the world that appears on school maps is just the tip of the iceberg. There are tiny nations with more coastline than continental giants, forgotten territories with dozens of official languages, and even countries that lead rankings that no one would imagine, such as hospitalization or spirituality. And no, this is not just random curiosity. It is the kind of knowledge that changes the way you see politics, economics, culture, and even yourself. Because when you truly understand the world, you start to make better choices, see opportunities where no one else does, and realize that, often, the advantage lies in the hidden details. This video is an invitation to get out of superficiality and explore the planet with different eyes. And the best part? You don't need a passport or spend a cent. It only takes a few minutes to be surprised by information that most people have never heard of, but that makes all the difference. Are you ready to discover what no one told you about planet Earth? Just imagine, there are almost 8 billion of us, divided into 195 countries, each with its own flag, history, and way of life. Here's a curiosity that surprises many people. Even with so many territories, the average size of a country is closer to that of North Korea than that of Brazil. This is because giants like Russia and Canada raise the average to much higher. In practice, most countries are much smaller than we imagine, both in terms of territory and influence on the global stage. And that's when you realize that size definitely doesn't matter. While some territories occupy entire continents, others are so compact that they could fit into a single neighborhood in Sao Paulo. San Marino, for example, is smaller than the island of Manhattan. And yet, it has a seat at the UN, its own passport, and even a national soccer team. This teaches us something powerful. Representation and voice are independent of geographic area. In real life, the same is true for us. Sometimes, the impact of someone small is stronger than that of many big ones. If you think about it, getting to know different countries, even if it's just through Google Maps or documentaries, changes the way we see the world. It's like traveling without leaving home and, at the same time, training empathy and strategic vision. A good place to start is watching the GeoWizard channel or exploring apps like Cetera to test your geographical knowledge in a fun way. And amidst all this excitement, it's impossible not to wonder, what will life be like within these borders? A good clue may lie in what comes next. The world may look uniform from afar, but when you look closely, each country has its own growth rate, and that changes everything. While Japan is moving toward an older society, with a median age of 49, Niger is moving in the opposite direction, with a young, energetic population with a median age of 15. This difference isn't just a curious fact. It affects everything from the economy to cultural values. A young country tends to be more driven by change, while an older one prioritizes stability. You can see how demographics and behavior go hand in hand, right? Now, get this. South Asia alone is home to almost 25% of the world's population. And India, it has more Hindus than the entire population of the Americas combined. That's not just a huge number, it's a reflection of how certain belief systems shape the fabric of society. When we understand this, we begin to see the world with more empathy. For example, you might understand why Bollywood is so popular, why religious holidays are taken so seriously, or why India's economy is growing so rapidly in sectors like technology and services. If you want to dig deeper, check out the WorldPop YouTube channel or explore the UN's database of population projections. These sources reveal patterns of migration, urban growth, and even life expectancy across different continents. And when you understand population movements, you can start to predict trends, including in business, marketing, and behavior. And speaking of movements, how about exploring how some tiny countries manage to have more coastline than many giants? When we think of countries with long coastlines, we immediately imagine giants like Russia, Canada, or Brazil, right? But then Micronesia comes along and turns the tables. Despite being the 177th largest country, it ranks 22nd in terms of coastline, with over 6,000 kilometers of coastline. That's more than France or Argentina, two huge countries on the map. In other words, what seems small is not always less impressive, especially when it comes to island geography. Micronesia is made up of hundreds of small islands in the Pacific, each surrounded by crystal-clear waters that look like they've come straight out of a postcard. And do you know what this means in practice? A rich biodiversity, economies focused on fishing, and an intense relationship between culture and the ocean. There, the sea is not just a landscape, it is a source of food, transportation, and even identity. This also shows how physical geography can directly influence a nation's customs and lifestyle. If you like interactive maps, explore marine regions or Google Earth Pro to see these coastal formations in detail. You can even compare them between countries. For example, compare the jagged coastline of Norway with that of Greece or Micronesia itself. And then we realize that, even with a small territory, some places have much more borders with the world than they appear. And speaking of invisible borders, the next point will show how the air we breathe can vary as much as the countries themselves. Imagine breathing air so pure it feels like it was filtered by nature's own hands. In the far northwest of Tasmania, Australia, there's just such a place, Cape Grim. There, winds blowing directly off the Southern Ocean travel thousands of miles without encountering a single source of human pollution. This is where the Cape Grim Air Pollution Station is located, established in 1976 to monitor the composition of the cleanest air on the planet. Now compare that to Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, where the air is so thick it's almost palpable. In 2024, Bangladesh was ranked the second most polluted country in the world, with air pollution levels more than 15 times higher than the World Health Organization guidelines. The city of Dhaka, in particular, recorded its highest air pollution level in 9 years, with an average PM 2.5 of 171, putting it in the unhealthy category and posing significant public health risks. These extremes show us how dramatically the environment can vary from place to place. While Cape Grim serves as a model for environmental conservation, Dhaka highlights the challenges faced by rapidly growing cities. For those looking to monitor air quality in real time, apps like IQ Air and Plume Labs provide up-to-date data and can be valuable tools for understanding and mitigating the impacts of pollution. Speaking of extremes, the next section will take us on a journey to explore stunning geographic measurements that challenge our perceptions of size and scale. Some people think Texas is big, and it is, but they have no idea what Western Australia is. This region alone is bigger than Texas and Alaska combined. And we're talking about just one state within Australia. It's as if a single piece of the country were enough to swallow up a good portion of the United States. This kind of comparison helps us understand how size on a map can mislead our perception of influence, density, and even development. And if you think mountains are just beautiful scenery, you might need to reevaluate that view. Mount Everest, in addition to being the highest point on the planet, weighs about 161 trillion kilograms. That's right, trillion. Imagine trying to bench press that. Impossible, of course, but this curiosity serves to show the raw and silent power of nature. It's like carrying the perfect metaphor for what humanity constantly tries to do: climb, overcome, master the impossible. In fact, these colossal measurements also reveal how human beings need perspective. You can use tools like the true size of to compare territories and be surprised at how much a map's projection distorts the real size of countries. And this changes everything, from the way we see world powers to how we understand the infrastructure challenges in large regions. But speaking of surprising numbers, how about finding out who leads the world rankings for hospital beds per capita? Few people would imagine that, amid so much isolation and censorship, North Korea would be at the top of a global ranking. But it is. With an impressive 13.2 hospital beds per thousand inhabitants, the country surpasses even powers like Germany and Japan in this regard. Of course, this does not mean broad access or quality of care, but it is a fact that draws attention and shatters expectations. After all, who would have imagined that one of the most closed countries in the world would have one of the densest hospital systems on the planet? And it doesn't stop there. North Korea also appears above two nations in the Global Democracy Index. Yes, as contradictory as it may seem, there are countries with less documented political freedom, according to certain metrics. This shows how international rankings, although useful, do not always tell the whole story. It's like looking only at the cover of a book and trying to guess the plot. Without context, the numbers can be very misleading. That's why critical interpretation is an increasingly valuable skill. If you want to explore unusual rankings and data like these, it's worth visiting the World Bank website or consulting the Economist Intelligence Unit database. There you'll find everything from the countries with the highest coffee consumption to those that value press freedom the most. And in this universe of unexpected curiosities, some nations stand out not only for their statistics, but also for breathtaking cultural and linguistic contrasts, like a country with almost 40 official languages and another that uses the euro without being part of the European Union. If you think Brazil's cultural diversity is surprising, wait until you visit Bolivia. The country officially recognizes 37 languages. That's right, 37. In a single nation, indigenous languages, Spanish, and regional variations coexist, forming a true linguistic mosaic. This type of plurality impacts everything, from politics to education. And it reinforces a powerful lesson. The more we hear different voices, the richer our way of thinking and acting in the world becomes. Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, Cambodia leads in devotion. About 97% of the population declares itself Buddhist. Spirituality is so present that it influences the calendar, architecture, and even the way people relate to time and life. It is not just a religion, but a way of being where detachment and compassion shape daily life. A great documentary to delve into this universe is The Buddha, from PBS, which shows how these beliefs still echo in every corner of the country. And to end this trip in style, take a look at French Guiana, a South American territory that not only speaks French, but also uses the euro as its official currency. Even though it is far from Europe, it is considered an integral part of France. This challenges geographical logic, but it also reveals how political and cultural borders do not always follow straight lines. And it is precisely this type of curiosity, which mixes culture, economy, and geopolitics, that paves the way for us to better understand the world we live in. After all this, tell me, how many of these curiosities did you already know? How many made you completely rethink the way you see the world? Knowing this information is not just a matter of general knowledge. It makes a difference. Those who understand the logic behind each country, culture, and number begin to connect dots that go unnoticed by most. And this type of perspective can open doors for you in travel, studies, business, or even in a bar conversation that ends in applause. Now tell me in the comments, what was the curiosity that shocked you the most? Or better yet, is there one that you know that you think few people know? Share it with us. This exchange of ideas is what makes this space grow, and, of course, it can become the subject of a future video. If this content surprised you, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and come with us on this journey to see the world as it really is, and not just as it appears in textbooks. Because here, curiosity has no borders.